Yeah, Takadena. Hello.
Hello, Guardians. It's great to be here again. These Tuesdays seem to come round really quickly, but it's partly because we're looking forward to them so much to ask you questions again and just hear from your wisdom and knowledge and insights. So this week we have I've got a lot of questions from Susan. She's been very well prepared this week, which is good because I only have a few things to ask, although usually my few things turn into more than a few once we start chatting. Uh, so I'll start with Susan's questions. So she has a paragraph which is titled Thoughts from the Wise Ones. Now, I believe the wise ones are maybe in your region, you may know of them. And I think Susan has been connecting to them recently or building a connection with them recently. So the paragraph says, consider what we have been learning from the Guardians. To receive something, one must first ask. So I think we have been doing that. However, she goes on to say, meaning ask each week for a connection. And if it is not yet time, ask why, and then problem solve. And she's put that in capital letters, problem solve, to resolve and reset the light until access is granted, incrementally getting closer to that alignment each week. And then she said both must support this frequency coming through. So I'm assuming she means both myself and Susan, or maybe she means the Guardians and us as both. So it's made me think, what should we be asking for you? What should we be asking to receive from you each week? Are we asking enough?
Yeah, yeah, they are asking for you to connect with them. And you get at the end, not just to expect that it'll happen at some point, I got at the end, yeah, but to instigate the communication.
Okay, right. So that's, I think that message has landed with me because, as I said, when we were on the communication with Cam on the podcast, I sort of, my very first understanding with the Guardians, it felt almost like it's the beings that we almost who answer our prayers. So we from almost from the mechanism of praying or sending out a prayer, we're asking. So I understand that we should be asking because we won't just be given to us, or otherwise you would be interfering in our free will, I suppose, if you were just given without us asking. So I'll jump onto my questions, saying that I'm looking for answers to help me understand the question of dimensions and densities, because I've heard these two phrases being spoken about almost interchangeably at times. But I'll start quite simply and how I understand it, and then we can you can maybe add on to it. So the concept of 3D being the third dimension. So if I'm sitting in this room and we've got length and width and height as the three dimensions I'm working with at the moment. And so I'm in 3D. And then we could also add on time as the fourth dimension. So you could say I'm in the fourth dimension. Uh, so would that be as you understand it? And then I'm just wondering what the fifth would be, because I know as part of the shift, people speak about going to 5D. Now, I don't know if that's dimension or the fifth density. So we'll come on to densities in a moment, but could you speak about 3D, 4D as I'm in it at the moment, Susan and I, and then maybe explain what 5D would bring us?
And to us, it appears like like a ball with many layers. And within the the woven network of energy, what you say 3D, it's very it's very densely woven, and as you come out through each layer, it appears to be more and more more open, which connects into a greater ability to feel and move in the energy. So it's like you're saying, but it's about the consciousness and the way the mind can move and flow within the different amounts of woven energy. As you're moving out through those fields and layers of energy.
Okay. So if we went into the fifth dimension, it's bringing more energy and more light. Is that what you're saying? It would bring that would add to what we have at the moment in 4D.
That is correct. It's like a living intelligence, which allows for a greater fluidity than the densely structured the densely structured layers underneath them.
Right. So the concept of density, could you explain that? So, because is that more to do with consciousness perhaps rather than, so you've been the fourth density, you could be in the third density, which might be a kind of baseline type consciousness for the human, and then a fourth density might be higher. So I could be sitting in this room in the fourth dimension, but when we start talking about density, it's about how where my consciousness is residing. And I could be in a very happy place, in a very light, airy place that's making me feel like I'm in the fourth density. And then how do I then reach a fifth density? Could you speak about that concept?
So as you're moving through the different densities, it's the ability to, the constructs, the paradigms that are locking in that dense woven energy. So as it loosens going out through the layers, you're getting a greater perspective from it feels to exist in greater fluidity with source rather than the human field, which is entangled in the structure, and the falsehoods and the dense interconnectedness, as you move out, it's less, it's a greater weave. So it's easier to form, to flow, to be fluid, to sit within the matrix in higher vibration.
Okay. I'm sort of starting to form a sort of maybe a concept of how both of those density and dimensions could work together as we raise our consciousness, as we go towards the shift and towards the ascension of the planet. So,
To be in source is to be open without a weave. When you're coming in through those densities, in through the increasing density of the weave, the weave being the matrix, then you're being formed into the lower vibrations. So your ascension process is learning to let go of the programs that form the weave to bring you back into source where it is a oneness of wisdom and knowledge, and fluent and creation.
Okay, right. So, yeah, so if, for example, if I'm in the third density at the moment, then if I was to undo the weave or some of the programming, I may raise into the fourth, and then I could undo more of the programming and raise into the fifth. And it's really about how I'm now perceiving reality in the world is to do with density. And I'm just wondering if, like, I could be standing in this room in the fourth dimension, and my wife could walk in, and I could be seeing this fourth dimension in the fifth density, meaning that my consciousness was up there. But she could walk into the same room and she might only be in the third density because of her perception. Could that actually happen?
Yes,
Yeah.
Sakatotogia, that is correct. Sakaninia, Nakatotogia, the new earth isn't necessarily about being in a different and physical place. Sania Nakatotogia, Naganania, it's in the open weave of the freedom of thought and consciousness and Nakatanya and heart-led space that is open for creation to form through.
Hmm. Thank you very much. It's, I've been thinking about this question for a long time, and I just couldn't get my head around it. And it's amazing to now get it explained. It always brings a tear to my eye to understand the mechanisms of what we're trying to do and where we're going, and the understanding's quite powerful. Uh, so that's fantastic. So just to expand that further, so I'm now reaching for a question that I don't really know how to phrase. So as we ascend, how how is it going to work? So I mean, if I ascend and I'm living in fifth density and I'm and it's the world's a wonderful place, how do I interact with the people around me who may be lower and how they're not seeing the world for the same way as I'll see it? I mean, you hear people saying that as you ascend, you leave people behind. So some people will drop out of your life just because they're not seeing the world the way you're seeing it. And I'm just wondering. Now, I don't think I'll be leaving my family behind. I'll bring them with me one way or the other. But I'm just wondering how it could really work. Will you generally leave people behind as your density raises and your consciousness raises?
Oh, Deganiania, Katodia. It appears that your energy with your family, Aganina, expands out. Akotochichia, it's all encompassing. So by proximity, it would take a lot for them not to be lifting up in some form. Everyone has a choice and they will live in that reality as Jakatiya as they choose to live in it or recognize it.
Yeah.
But your frequency in general, Susan's frequency with Paul will continue to lift. But with society, that's different. It'll be like you're not drawn, you start magnetizing only those that are within that higher weave.
Yeah.
Which is why it can also feel like there's less of those people than what is like in the denseness.
Uh-huh.
But you need to just trust in the process because over the coming life generations, there's going to be that recognition of souls that are wanting to return or not return. Yeah, there are many on this planet to help lift the vibration at the moment, but that is changing and shifting, and not as many agreeing to come back because the work, the main acceleration that was needed. All these anchors, they will be everything will shift. It's gaining momentum in different
Yeah.
ways.
So that the people that are leaving the planet don't need to come back because there's enough of us here doing the right work to take the planet in the correct direction to us to ascend.
And the children that are being born now have a very different crystalline DNA structure. It's like a living consciousness that functions differently to hold the light differently. So the generations coming into the planet now will be elevating much quicker than what this generation has had to, and the work that structured energy they've had to be letting go of.
Okay. Well, that's great. Susan's actually got a question about the children coming into the planet at the moment. I'll just leave that to the side for a moment. One more question that I just thought about regarding my own life at the moment. And so I believe I'm raising my consciousness. So my density should be getting higher, maybe moving into fourth or fifth at some point. But I wonder if some of my sort of my pastimes or my hobbies or the things that I do in life are still very much involving people that are in the third density or lower fourth density. I'm thinking about my daughter, not so much my daughter, but my daughter's football team that I meet twice a week to for them to play football. And I'm just thinking, is football a pursuit that keeps you in a lower density? And at some point, will that be left behind? And from a very kind of human point of view, I don't want to leave MD behind over the next 5 years because they enjoy playing football. I enjoy coaching them, and it's something we all enjoy. But it may very well be a third density thing to do. Be competitive and maybe bring aggression into your Saturday morning when you're trying to win a game of football. Aggression channeled correctly, not for nastiness, but for competitiveness is controlled aggression. So is that an aspect of humanity and sport, that kind of aggression in sport, that controlled aggression that needs to be left aside? That will I need to leave it aside because I'm ascending into fourth density or higher and I'm trying to raise my consciousness?
It's it feels to depend on how you are connect in and hold that energy at the if you're there and you're just in the moment and and you're feeling good and feeling the joy of being there, play is very important. That lifts your vibration. It's just a game. Just take it for what it is. It's when when people get too serious and then they don't let it go and it just stays there. That's bad.
Okay,
You just go, you be in the moment, you enjoy it for what it is. And it brings people together. Yeah.
okay. I understand that. That's so almost that competitiveness to win the game in the moment is fine as long as it's for the game and then it's let go and it's not being held as a negative
Yeah, you got to get,
afterwards.
yeah, that's
Yes.
correct.
Because that's the play. The play is the competitive is the play once you get to a certain age when they're no longer children. It's the competitiveness that actually makes us want to play the sport for that human drive. So to take that out of it when you're an adult, there would be no reason to play.
I get it, yeah, and then yeah, you're still human, having a human experience. So to get it, and yeah, it's just not allowing yeah, toxic energy to stay with you, and it just yeah, just play is good.
Yeah, okay. Right, thank you very much. That's a great help. So to go back to Susan's questions, and what you spoke about was the children that are coming into the earth now, and I'll use Susan's words, and those working in the energy like we are, their DNA is becoming crystalline. The image Susan keeps being shown is this stunning crystalline fluent DNA, but with a tortured energetic DNA strangling the core of it. Susan has read that as the energetic structure and stuckness. She would like you, the Guardians, to dissolve this and reset for fluency and for crystalline intelligence to then flow through the consciousness. Now, I assume she's asking for herself, but maybe it's a bigger ask as well. That could it be done for humanity or if possible?
She is asking for the human blueprint. Hanging in at the and this is true. We keep showing you this image so we could be brought to work on it at the end because individually it's a very long journey and so by being able to work on the greater blueprint and through you both, then this helps to support the ascension process and the breaking down of that the matrix that you were talking about that binds the way.
It sounds like a very big job to do such a thing for the human blueprint. Uh,
No, no, a lot of it is awareness of the fact that something is there. Yeah, once you recognize that it's there and you know the vibration of what it should be within that pure light, then we can work with the divine healers and energy in spirit to coordinate efforts to transmute, transform. And as it updates within the greater field, then this is going to be received by all who choose to connect into that the higher genetic library of information.
okay. When I hear you saying such things, it can be quite mind blowing. So are these changes that you are able to make? Did they will they be implemented over time, or do they happen quickly when you make them?
We are doing that now and setting that in motion, but energy is is pretty instantaneous and but as we've said at the each human has a choice to connect to that or not. We recommend you both connect into that healed blueprint, so you keep receiving that energy and the upgrades into the channels and heart-led action. This would be ideal.
Is it enough for me just to acknowledge that I want to connect to that blueprint, or should I do it in meditation?
I have no idea. Do it the easy way. Let us help.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just looking at some of the other questions that Susan has prepared.
Yeah, to get you in the end, yeah, got the end at the end of the yeah, go, yeah, and you can keep talking. Not to get it, yeah, it's interesting. I thought, yeah, because where this dense energy has been, and then and weaving back in. It's like it's almost like it's been when the junctions don't meet to communicate, like electrical wire that doesn't, so reweaving and rewriting through that genetic library so that it connects fluently, and then upgrading the channels of consciousness for the downloads to be received within you both. It looks like silver white threads weaving around.
I'm feeling shivers happening to me just as you're describing that happening.
It's very beautiful.
It feels beautiful. I'm always very aware to sit up straight now, as you told me a few weeks ago, just to make sure I'm nice and straight to receive the downloads. I probably don't drink as much water as I should actually to help these happen, but I've got some water handy here, so I'll try and keep that updated. I realise how important water is to us, and
the water is the conductor in the body. So the more water you drink and the more you stay hydrated, and the better the energy is going to flow and the more connected you will be to spirit.
that's just what I was going to ask you. I mean, I realise we come on here every week to ask, how do we become better? But it could be just such a simple thing as drinking an extra 2 litres of water every day could make a big difference.
This question should be made aware in bigger groups. That information alone is so important. So many people seeking to awaken, but they're starving the physical vessel, and when there's no water, there's nowhere for the energy to move through. So it's very sluggish, and therefore that fragments through the matrix and communication pathways.
Okay, right. I'm making a promise to you that I'm going to start drinking a lot more water. The 2 times in my life that I did drink a lot, I remember being a young man, kind of early 20s, or maybe a wee bit older, but going through a phase of drinking loads of water, and I was sleeping brilliant and jumping out my bed every morning like fresh as a daisy, feeling great. And I remember telling my brother, drinking water's the answer. But and then in 2019, I had the best year of my life when I lost a lot of weight and I was drinking so much water and had the best year of my life. And yet I didn't give water enough of the credit for it. So I'm now listening again. Right. So thank you for the reminder. So I've got half a dozen questions here from Susan. And this is thoughts from her. So number one, she's written Scrying, the Seer, and Telepathy. Why are these important?
Freedom.
Freedom.
Like it opens up many other channels of the psychic pathways. They're like the doors that you open to connect into other processes that are more feels more interconnected with source. They feel like the stepping stones in. So when the messages are coming to keep working on these things, and the seers, the grandmothers of the ancestors come in to teach and learn, showing you how to connect into other areas of consciousness through these very simple processes. Yeah, this is just the beginning of what opens up so much more in that higher consciousness and alignment to source and your higher abilities.
Okay. It also made me think the idea of telepathy and the galactic races, if they communicate with each other, I imagine telepathy might be actually the way most of them would do it. So would that be a natural way for communication sort of out there in the galaxy?
Yeah, yeah, it's a much more honest way to communicate. And then, yeah, if you are both wanting, we could start bringing those energies online to weave through and help the soul to remember those the help the soul to remember how to do that.
Okay.
Academia, that is something you would like.
Yes, please. It would be amazing to develop such an ability.
It's like like plugging in the communication channel and then like a telephone wire to the universe. So others that are on a similar frequency and then will be able to communicate with you. And then feels like bathing through here. It's going much deeper. It's weaving through go to down through the Kundalini channels. And it looks to be like a nervous system, but moving into the color frequencies of your light. They're more crystalline, and yeah, you're becoming as you connect more and more through this channel at the end of the um the more refined that communication will become.
Thank you. I'll certainly continue to communicate through this channel as much as I possibly can for as long as I possibly can. So that should give my DNA as much possibility to crystallize and become pure as it possibly can.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just wondering, is when I've been meditating and I've been receiving the slight visions or the visions that I have been, and that's been an amazing experience for me over the past 3 weeks. I've really enjoyed that development. Is that a form of telepathy when I get those visions? Is it like messages? So I'm assuming they're coming from my guides to actually say, here's a wee symbolic message for you. Is that me? Is that a sort of telepathy thing, or would be telepathy be definitely two ways so that I was sending and receiving?
Yeah, you got the yin and then it feels a bit of both. But you're not giving your higher soul credit for the yin and yin and the communication it's opening up to you. And then your teams are guiding also, but your the higher power is definitely very present at the moment.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, it could be my higher power or my guides. I'm not. I'm not. I suppose I'm not sure exactly yet who's doing the work for me, but I just try and give thanks to all of them or connect to all of them. When I'm in my meditations, I'll ask for my higher self and my guides and the guardians of light to come in and give me as much as whoever can give me information and appropriate make contact with me every morning, and I have been for the past few weeks. So I'm always bringing yous in now. Uh, so to go back on to Susan's questions, and it's slightly related to my meditation. So she says astral travel versus inward travel of consciousness, opposing forces, kind of like the northern to southern hemisphere. Can we activate to use both, or is that detrimental? Is it just like an intentional switch in one's mind, or is it something deeper encoded into one's very being?
Both. At the end, there is definitely a sway to go to the to one or the other, and it's like being a creator of the universe versus being the the third person view and looking after from the outside. So one does one job, one does the other job, and you can visit both places, and and there may be more mastery in doing that because one will become comfortable and know that vibration versus that vibration of the titiya, the gadanya. But it is possible to rewire and reconnect so that both are accessible.
Okay. So in very simple terms, if in my own words, so for astral travel, would it be if I wanted to go and explore a planet on a far distant star or whatever, then that astral travel would be the method that I would use to get out there and find that sort of external information. And then the inward travel of going into, as we spoke about in the past couple of weeks, going inward to find information that's coming from inside of me. Would that be the two ways of looking at it?
Yes, through astral travel you go there and and you're viewing. If you were to go to the same place, going inward through the mind, you would be visiting that place via a consciousness from a different perspective. It's more a inside perspective versus an outside viewing.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting concept. So you could go at the same place using two different methods. So
It's like depending on the signature that you hold and your abilities that's what one will do one thing versus the other because you heal and you contribute in different ways.
yeah, okay. So I might be more suited to astral travel than I might be going inside, but perhaps both could be developed if I was to work on both methods. Would
Yeah.
that be right? Yeah. Okay. So the, number three, I think it leads on to astral travel and inward travel. So it says start with lucid dreaming, accessing this on demand. What needs to be received for this to be accessed more often? And so I'll just add my own thoughts. So I often wondered if lucid dreaming was just kind of like going inside. So astral travel was going out but lucid dreaming is almost exploring inside your head. Uh, so it would be interesting to hear your take on what lucid dreaming is and how it differentiates from astral travel.
Yeah, it's essentially ang ano niya data katatiya working within your own and niya data tika subconscious streams and niya katatiya takatani and then katoto so as you are processing at kotototuya out of the dense weave and niya kototonia then you are being guided to proactively contribute to the choices and you are like the onion and the architect within your own subconscious creating different choices and outcomes and it's very powerful like a little bit like being in control of your own regressions. Where you are choosing different outcomes within the higher consciousness rather than where you would normally go in a dream where you are being just processing emotional energy and it's coming up as pictures.
Okay. So lucid dreaming was something that I discovered probably about more than 25 years ago and read a book and was fascinated by it. And over the years, I became lucid almost by accident, maybe 3 or 4 times in dreams, and actually woke up in my dream still. I thought, "Right, okay, I'm sleeping here. Oh, I wonder what I can do." And I very quickly fell back asleep again because I wasn't skilled at controlling it. Uh, but you said there it's a powerful tool, so you can go into your subconscious and then almost, is it like almost programming your subconscious to then benefit your waking life? Would that be a way to use lucid dreaming?
Yeah, Katrina, and Academia that through the choices that you create instead of being dictated by the processing trauma that's coming up or the energy at that point that's coming up, and you can make different choices and step into the light. It's a path to ascension that is much faster.
Okay, right. So if we speak of astral travel or inward travel or lucid dreaming, that's three different modes, or is inward travel really the same as lucid dreaming?
No, it's different.
Is it? So can you just make the distinction between the two of them to allow me to understand?
Oh, you remember we differentiated when we spoke about the mind is a spaceship with many pods that can go to different
Yeah,
places.
yeah,
So when you are traveling inward, you are choosing part of a consciousness stream to move and explore through. You can reach very um different parts of consciousness and generally lucid dreaming and because it's coming up when and as you're sleeping, it's held in that subconscious stream. So it connects to a grander pool of experiences, but it's generally about what the the vessel is moving through and and then the conscious this part of the conscious coming in to make the choices that choose a different pathway.
okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It's not completely clear to me. You've told me it's two different methods, but I suppose Mm,
If you are going and traveling through meditation and inward, you are connecting to maybe source, higher power source, and grander possibilities. Or you can, if you slip into a shared stream, you can experience that wisdom of that experience. And we know things can be unlocked in a evolutionary sense. Lucid dreaming and is born from the dreams that are usually associated with what the physical vessel is processing and moving in and through at the time. It feels like like a smaller container of what is potentially available no then traveling through to the inner stargates and portals at the end that connect back to source.
yes, thank you. That's much better. I can be slow on the uptake, so thank you very much for for that extra description. There was I had an offshoot question at the tip of my tongue before you gave me that extra description, and it's now escapes me. But it will come back to me at some point, and I'll ask it. It was to do with lucid dreaming, astral travel, inward travel.
Are you both requesting for this to come online more and weave the matrix for this to be a greater reality for you both?
Definitely, I've always had an interest in lucid dreaming.
You just need to remember to keep asking.
Yeah.
Just each time, yeah, that looks good. Let's do that. Let's switch it on. We're all in.
Okay. Thank you. Uh, could you just look after Susan for the moment? Because I need to go and answer the front door. I'll just
Hey,
be back in a moment.
yeah, we will.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Guardians. Just the postman came. I didn't know he came at 3 o'clock in the day. So yes, I suppose Susan and I would both dearly love all these abilities to be turned on. Whether it's the ability to astral travel that I spent a good year trying to do it with some success through the gateway experience. Inward travel, since we spoke about it in the past few weeks, I've been concentrating in my meditations to try and activate the gateways inside to allow me to go in deeper. And well, the lucid dreaming concept now is very much, now that I understand that, yes, it would be great to become lucid in dreams and then almost shape those dreams to benefit the waking life. So anything that can be done that you can see in my head that needs tweaked or Susan's, then we would it would be gratefully received.
It brings us back to the blueprint. The etheric DNA and and looking at the codes to building the frequencies and the It's like it's there, it's just it's dull, it's switched off. So stimulating the correct light structure back into for both of you. Weaving it back through the body. There is like a sheath in the spine. That is a out of forgetting so we can remove that and create greater openness within the information streams that move into and through those spinal channels as well. And this will also assist. So start flowing through and waking up pathways that have been it's like when something's been asleep for a long time and it starts to wake up, and you start getting feeling back.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a real privilege to be here and get these opportunities to receive such gifts being awoken again.
All of this and coming back into wholeness and that is part of the greater gift of coming together and supporting the ascension in this union, this coming together. So you are helping us, we are helping you, and we become a team that evolves in the highest good of all involved.
Thank you. So I've got another 3 questions from Susan, but I've remembered what it was I was thinking about, and it's actually linked. It goes back to me linking, asking you about 3D, 4D, 5D, that whole dimension and density concept. So the question was, where does our mind go, or where does our consciousness go when we're asleep, or maybe when we're astral traveling? And we obviously go somewhere, like the mind goes maybe into another density. And you hear people maybe saying you go into the lower astral planes or the higher astral planes, and that's a real concept that I've never studied, and but I'm kind of fascinated by, because if I believe I might be unconsciously going out at night time when I'm sleeping and going traveling, and I'm just wondering where I'm going or what I might be doing. Not that I'm asking you that question, but it's actually just to understand the concepts of uh, where you go when you go into that astral plane. What's almost next door to when we leave? So we're lying in our beds at night and in the 4th dimension, and our mind goes somewhere. Where is it we go?
Yeah, the mission. So traveling within that consciousness field to heal and repair and create and to fight and to exist in the greater concept of the mission that you're here for. This can be not just one, but in many different places at once. They're really No rules. Ania kototukia, as you evolve and rise in consciousness, akatotukia, you'll be busier and busier at night. Akatotukia, akatotukia, as you reconnect with other aspects of your soul, atekototukia, and you're fulfilling different nia kototukia, nia roles, understanding different concepts to ania kototukia, bring back to here as well, to life.
Okay, you said so much there that could be explored about what you do or what we may be doing and what our missions are. It makes me think, are other beings from other races also doing these missions? Do they have the same purposes, or is this very much a human existence that we do when we're sleeping?
It would seem that others join you on the agreements and connections that when working in the consciousness field. It's very much more freeing than the concept of one body and being in one place. It's much more limitless when you become just consciousness. And being able to work with the other soul groups and other pathways potentials and possibilities to explore and understand and collect information to bring back and to get the downloads needed as you move through the mission and understanding where other soul groups are and to get everything coming back for the mission.
Okay. Again, I don't know where to start with the questions because this is maybe a topic that we'll come back to on another day, and I'll continue with Susan's questions because, like, I want to explore my mission. I want to explore Susan's mission. It'd be good to know once we get what we are, who we're working with, why we're doing it. I could make lots of guesses, but it would only be guesses. So I'll park that from at the moment. It's been amazing to get the concepts of 3D density, dimensions today and get these answers so far. But it's definitely something that we want to explore more in the future. But I'll move on to Susan's fourth question here. Similar to things that she's asked for in the past, uh, checking the human field through the divine feminine for leaks and then the divine masculine. Can you check for any leaks that's coming through either of these? And then balance for continuity and flow in the human field, please.
Yes, we can. There appears to be a bit of a dissonance, like a vibrational misalignment between some of the fields of energy as the divine feminine and the divine masculine come through the fields of consciousness, like it becomes mixed up and entangled so just resetting the energy pathways to hold cleaner energy as it moves in and through, and then just to balance and harmonize.
Okay. It makes me want to ask the same question, but you always can you always tell me the energy is immediate. So
Academia is the physical essence of processing that is slow. The energy itself. It is done. But the objects, the energy, the body, this doesn't think as quickly as the energy
okay.
and that's what part of that density is as well. The human mind hasn't quite fully encapsulated the limitlessness of its own creation and the concept of light and that immediacy these are part of the upgrades we would like to keep bringing in. As you understand it, this starts to spread to others. And this also helps that ascension process.
Okay, thank you. So you can do the work instantly, but the body takes time to process the upgrades and just put them in place.
It does.
Thank you. The fifth point from Susan is can you bless Susan's body for easier transition through the energy that is transmuting, please? She suggests perhaps creating a written instruction or code that alchemizes the depth and breadth of the work with greater fluency. Is this possible?
Yeah, it's a very good idea. And yet, yeah, this is done.
Thank you. Now she's got a personal question. She said, the left inside of her knee issue has been an issue since being home last year with mum and sisters. What is the message that Susan is not realizing that she can't seem to heal it herself? Is it her family, or a clue to something in the expanded consciousness?
Yeah, Nyanakatatinya, it's the expanded consciousness and that divine feminine and Nikatatinya. It's linked to the other question and the Akadanya and the dissonance in their vibration. And as it's coming through, there was still something that she wasn't seeing. And that divine feminine through the different etheric fields of the DNA and the primordial lines are bringing it into flow and resonance through the different dimensions and timelines. And it's very, very small, but it's still creating a point of inflammation within the within that space that was not healing. And so this should be done now.
Okay, thank you. So I think we've reached the end of all the written questions we have. So the final thought that I've got that it's been going through my mind for the past week, and I wasn't actually going to ask it to the Guardians, but it might be something to get your view on. Is actually it's like the human existence that we're here to experience, and although Susan and I are, well, Susan in particular, but we're both doing spiritual work and trying to evolve ourselves and grow. And because of that, there's a I'm always looking for information that I can take on to make it easier for my body to evolve spiritually, like drinking more water, as you told me today. But as part of that sort of evolving over the past 6 months, I've cut out alcohol, sort of not totally. I'll still have a drink when a social occasion allows with friends, but mostly it's a month since I've last drunk alcohol, and it could be another month before I have any, just to allow me to help my system evolve. But the I've ended up sort of I realised that on a Friday or a Saturday night at the end of the week, it was almost my decompression. Was like I've had a busy week, I've enjoyed my week, but on a Friday or a Saturday night was when I kind of stopped. The week stopped, and I had some alcohol. But I've since I stopped drinking alcohol, I've replaced it with sugar, and I've been eating chocolate on a Friday or a Saturday night, and it almost just feels as if um I'm replacing one poison going into my system with another. But then it made me think, do I really need to cut out? I, I generally don't take a lot of sugar. It will come through fruit mainly out with I'm tempted by something like chocolate. But people that are on the spiritual pathway and trying to evolve and trying to give themselves every opportunity by cutting out all these things that kind of makes them human, like alcohol or sugar, or maybe even stopping becoming vegetarian. It's almost making taking a lot of the enjoyment out of the human experience that we're having here. And I'm just wondering, at what point do you say, well, the spiritual journey totally outweighs the other sacrifices you're making on the journey? And at some point, I'm sure Susan may be at that level where she gets all of the satisfaction out of the spiritual journey, and she doesn't need to turn to the more human things like alcohol or sugar or whatever it might be. But I'm wrestling with that thought at the moment, and just I suppose any advice that the Gardens could give would be helpful. I do want to accelerate as quick as I can, so if it, and I kind of would like to cut out sugar as much as I can, but I'm just wondering what other things can be done to, or how do I find that balance where I'm happy?
Any if it's an addiction, it's linked to trauma and emotion. So it's a clue as to what is still there. Preventing you from greater clarity. There is a simple act of blessing with the water, with the drinks, with the food. You need to understand that many of the things are cut out, not because maybe choice, but because as you lift in vibration you feel the vibration of those other things and and they don't match and and they upset the body. So when you are you are blessing your food and you are bringing the vibration of whatever it is you choose to eat back into love. And you just take that moment of appreciation for the everything that you are consuming, and then this changes the vibration. So you may not feel that you have to cut it out. You may not have that guilt response because the vibration is connecting more efficiently with your field. And it's Does it feel right or doesn't it feel right? As you are processing, as you're progressing on your journey, this will change and shift. It's a natural process. And but everything's a clue. And if it bothers you that you can't break the habit of something, and then look for what is underlying that is drawing you into that. And so what is holding you in that space of that constricted energy rather than the openness and the open weave of the higher frequency?
Okay. That's another great perspective for me to consider on this. I suppose it almost feels like it's certainly not an addiction because if I really, really wanted to be strong with it, I could just say, no, I'm not doing it. It's more like at the end of the weekend, I feel like it'd be nice to have a reward of something as I sit there for the last few hours of the week and reward my busy week with something to drink or something to taste. It's like that. It's the taste. It's that human pleasure of taste. And you're just sitting there spending a few hours before you go to bed, chilling, and you just want the taste. And as I said, for a while, for all my life, it was alcohol, only for the taste though, not for the intoxication, because I always knew that was quite upsetting, or not upsetting, but it was disorientating or whatever the alcohol. But it was I'll always love the taste of alcohol. And since I've cut that out, I've replaced it with the taste of sugar.
Remember, the path of the human field is also for joy, and that is okay. Just because there is a set of people that says you must. Yeah. They're stuck in their own paradigm. To be free, there is like be the creator of your own life. Also,
Okay.
lead from the heart. Do everything in love, consume in love, enjoy what you're doing. As long as you're not swaying the other way completely, you'll be fine.
Okay, thank you. So we're at the end of the questions today. Thank you again for all of your time and your wisdom. Is there anything else you want to pass on for myself or Susan today that I never should have asked?
The wise ones. They are wanting you to problem solve why you're not connecting with them. The asking and the channel of energy is needing to it's like Susan can see them but there's other channels that are still missing and and you both need to build these channels in so they can start connecting in with you both and then requesting like you do with us. And moving forward. Are they ready to come through? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But we need to start helping you build those channels of energy also.
Okay. How do we help you build the channels of energy?
You be willing participants.
Well, we definitely are. So I suppose my human mind goes back to, do I need to cut out sugar? Will that help? But I know your answer's no. That's where my mind went. But that's just me being very literal with. But I'm very open to it, and I know Susan is. So we definitely want to build this connection. So anything that can be done, any advice you can give that I should particularly meditate on, or any thread that I should follow, I'll certainly do it.
Oh, nia la katinia na nia tatia nia 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 na katatinia. We need to remind Susan of akatatinia, the information she is already channeled with a maninga la tiketatia, and pull this out atatatia nia la katatatia, because there may be threads of information in there also in a more practical term that you can work with. Angia takatinia nia to share this with you. Oh, nianda to tia, tika ta te kete tia. In the meantime, magono ninga na ninga ta te kete te tia. It's more a to tia, niana niana na ga to tia, and the consciousness stream that needs to be repaired and rebuilt to. Oh, niana ga to tia. It's like archaeology, ania to tia, to get back to that point, and the tia. So, with your permission, we can, and the tia, to tia, and you got the nia, we can work on the energy of that for you.
Yes, please do that. Of
You
course.
put the mm. This is enough for today. Maybe more next week.
Thank you very much.